with small devices. The probably smallest one is I have some devices with 2 kilobytes of the RAM, not gigabytes, not megabytes, but 2 kilobytes of the RAM. And believe me, even with 2 kilobytes of the RAM, you can do a lot of fun stuff. Today I will speak about Raspberry Pi 2 and Windows 10 IoT Core. So, how many of you does have Raspberry Pi? Okay. So the rest of you need to buy some. I have 6 of them. So I will speak in English. The presentation is in Czech. Sorry. What is Windows 10 IoT Core? Windows 10 IoT Core is a special build of Windows 10. So the core is the same as Windows 10 on your computer, but it is designed for big hardware. So it's enough if you have 512 megabytes of the RAM, it's enough. You need 2 gigabytes of space, for example, an SD card or in some internal memory of the device, and then you need at least half gigabyte of operating memory. So it's enough to run this kind of operating system. Very important thing is that there is no user interface. So if you start it up, you don't see any desktop or something like that. There's nothing. You need to write your own application to run on it. You cannot install, I don't know, Word or Excel or PowerPoint on it. It's not possible. You need to write your own application. But it's very nice. The application is a standard universal Windows application. This is the same application you can run on your standard computer because the operating system is the same. The core of the operating system is the same. What is very nice here, and what is probably the most important part of this kind of operating system, is that you have access to GPIO. GPIO means general purpose input and output. You will see it later. You have a lot of things where you can connect some sensors, you can connect some actuators, and you can do some fun stuff. When to use it? Do you know Windows Embedded? Okay. So it can very easily replace Windows Embedded in some cases. For people who doesn't know what Windows Embedded is a special operating system from Microsoft designed to run on special hardware. Do you know the blue screens from ATM machines? This is Windows Embedded on it. There is no Windows NT or stuff like that. It's Windows Embedded. Typically, Windows Embedded, if you go to the cache desk, on the cache, there is typically Windows Embedded. If you have a car, probably you have a Windows Embedded in your car. It's called Windows Automotive. Of course, it doesn't, it doesn't control your brakes or steer. No. It's typically for entertainment, controlling, opening windows and stuff like that. But it's called Windows Automotive. It's very useful when you need some, one purpose device, and you need some user interface. I think it's much better than to use, for example, Raspberry Pi together with the Linux, because it's much easier to find some developer who know how to create a user interface in the Windows than someone who know how to create the user interface for the Linux. There are not so many developers who are working on the Linux desktop. There are much more of them working on the Linux, and you don't need any developer with the special knowledge because it's a Windows, it's a .NET. You will see it later. It can be very interesting if you have a lot of sensors, you have some sensor network, and you need to create a central point for the sensor network. Typically, if you want to read the data from the sensors and you want to upload it somewhere, it's not possible to do it in the secure way because some typical microcontrollers you are using to get data from the sensor, they doesn't have enough power to calculate HTTPS. You can use some cryptography, but very, very simple one, because there is not enough power and enough resources on those small microcontrollers to run, the big cryptogram. Just imagine if you use the HTTPS, the key has 2 kilobytes. And if the whole memory has 2 kilobytes, you cannot organize that. But what is easy to do, you can collect data from those devices, you can send it to Raspberry Pi, and Raspberry Pi have enough power to calculate what you want, so you can use the Raspberry Pi system for pointers and sensor network. It's a very good usage. Very important thing is you need a stable power supply. It's not possible to run Raspberry Pi from the battery for a long time. When it's not really good idea to use it. The first one, if you need to predict the performance and you need some real-time calculations, it's not possible to use Raspberry Pi with Windows 10 IoT core. You need to have a special type of the Linux, some real-time Linux, because the operating system is the biggest advantage of the Raspberry Pi, but it's the biggest disadvantage because there are too much things running on it, and it's not everything. You cannot run Raspberry Pi for a long time on the battery. It consumes hundreds of milliamperes, so the current is too high, so you cannot feed it from the battery for a long time. If you use the standard microcontroller, taking data from the sensor, so if you have some special types of the microcontroller, and you know what you are doing, those microcontrollers can eat less than 1 nanoampere. So if you have hundreds of milliamperes compared to 1 nanoampere, it's a huge, it's a huge difference. You cannot use Raspberry Pi as a standalone device to read data from the analog sensors because there is some missing analog to digital converter. And it's really not a good idea to use it, for example, to control some servos or some motors, because you need to control those kinds of devices. You need something called PWM, full width modulation, and it's not available on Raspberry Pi. Let's say there is the one pin for it, but it really doesn't work well. You need some extra hardware for it. Okay. So first, how to install Windows 10 IoT Core on Raspberry Pi. It's extremely easy. Only thing you need is to go to this page. You just need to search Windows 10 IoT Core, and this is the first result. Then you need to choose your device. The first thing you need, as an operating system on your desktop, you need Windows 10 and you need Visual Studio 2015 Update 1. So you need the latest operating system and latest the Visual Studio 2015. It doesn't work with the oldest version.
Is there a free version of Visual Studio?
Yes, there is a free version of the Visual Studio. It's called the Visual Studio Community Edition. So it's for free, and it will work with this no problem. Okay, Windows 10 IoT Core supports 3 devices. The first one, the most common one, is Raspberry Pi 2. You need the 2nd generation. It will not work with the older one. So you need this one. The price is around 1,200 Czech crowns approximately. So it doesn't cost so much. Another is Minom board. I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's a board from Intel. It's very expensive. And it's only one from those 3 which does not use the ARM processor. There's some Intel-based, I think, some type of requirement. And the third one, and it's really new, it's supported for less than 1 month, is something called Dragon Board. It's a very interesting device. I'll show you what it looks like. Where's my camera? Okay. So this device is Dragon Board 410C. It's there is a quad-core Snapdragon processor from the Qualcomm. There is a 4 gigabytes of the internal memory, so it's very interesting because it's more powerful than the Raspberry Pi because it has that internal flash memory. One of the biggest problems of the Raspberry Pi is that you run the operating system from the SD card. And you can imagine if you do something wrong, and if you will write too much on the SD card, you can destroy it very, very easily. So it's no problem to destroy SD card in a Raspberry Pi in less than 1 peak, because those SD cards are not, typical SD card is not designed for a lot of write operations. Read operation is okay, the write operation is problem. Of course, you can buy some industry SD cards, but believe me, the price will be many times higher than the whole price of the Raspberry Pi. So this one has the internal memory, so you don't need to flash operating system on SD card. You can flash it directly inside the board.
Photography SD card will work. Like for
yes,
600 grams, the better.
You need to buy really a very good quality SD card if you want to run it for a long time. This board is possible to order from US now, and the price, including the shipping, is $85 US. So it's around 2,000 Czech crown. It's a little more expensive than Raspberry Pi, but not so much. Probably the biggest problem of this board is that the logic on the GPIO is 1.8 volts. So you need to have special sensors for this logic, or you need to put between the board and the sensor, you need to put something called level converter. So it's a little tricky to hook up. Okay, so what you need to do, so if I choose the Raspberry Pi, you just download the image. After you download the image, you run an application called Windows IoT Image Helper. And only thing you do, you put SD card to your device, to your computer, you choose the image, and you hit the flash, and that's all. And this application moves the image from your computer to SD card. You put SD card to Raspberry, and you just boot it up. So after Raspberry starts, you should see something like this. So this is what you see when the Raspberry Pi with Windows 10 IoT Core is started. That's all. You have some basic information about your device. This is the latest version of the system. You have the IP address, and that's all. You can, as you can see on the right side, you can there is some simple configuration, but this is the end of the story with the user interface of Raspberry Pi with Windows 10 IoT Core. This is the same for all boards. So now you need to write your own application to make it working, because this is the only user interface you have when you boot it for the first time. So some recommendations. So I disconnect this one.
So you connected it via USB or
This is connected via, it's connected, there's an HDMI on it. So the screen is from HDMI. I have Ethernet connection, and I feed it from USB.
Okay, I thought that we are looking at your desktop.
No, I connected. There is no remote desktop, nothing like that. So it's really simple, except for one purpose devices. So some recommendations. First, for the first time, it takes a couple of minutes to boot it up, because there are some post-installation processes. So it takes a couple of minutes to to run it. It's a really good idea for the first time, connect it via HDMI to some screen so you can see what's going on. What is really critical is power source. If you connect it to HDMI, you start it, probably you will see on the top right corner, you will see some, colorful square like blinking, fading in and out. So it means you do not have enough power for the Raspberry. So its recommendation is to have some very good source, at least 1 ampere. 2 amperes are nice, especially if you connect something to USB. The big problem of the Raspberry Pi is that there is just one USB hub, and for all 4 USB ports, so you have 4 USB ports, are connected to the same hub, including Ethernet. So everything is connected to same USB hub. So the performance of the USB is not good because everything is just on one USB hub. If you will have a low quality power source, typically if you, for example, connect the Wi-Fi when the device is running, it will be restarted because the current will drop down and it will, force the restart. So be very careful about the power source. Very nice power source is what really works for testing. If you have some power bank, it works very good because those power banks can give you a very high current compared to low level USB adapters for power. There is an official support for some USB Wi-Fi dongles. I have 5 of them. 2 of them should be officially supported. No one is working. So if you need the Wi-Fi,
so the power source is through USB.
Yes, you feed it from USB.
So what about some charger for a mobile phone, for a cell phone?
Yes, but it must be
strong one.
It must be really strong one. So you feed it through USB.
Okay.
So it must be really strong one.
And the Wi-Fi doesn't work with Windows IoT, or it doesn't work with
This Windows IoT. It's a problem of the operating system. If you run the Linux, there are tens of USB dongles working with the Linux. So now it's a problem of the Windows 10 IoT Core operating system.
And the USB is USB 2.0?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
So if you really need USB and you want to use Windows 10 IoT Core, Dragon board, there is a USB. You need to use the Wi-Fi and you want to use Windows 10 IoT Core. So there is a Wi-Fi built in and there is Bluetooth. But it's tricky. If you want to connect this one to Ethernet, you need to have TU2 ET100 device from TrendNet. So only one working with Dragon board.
And how to install operation system there? Is it possible to do it through USB or?
If you want to upload the operating system to the Dragon board, you just change this switch to on, and you connect it to USB. And there is a special tool from Qualcomm to flash it.
And the Wi-Fi on this board is the N version, or the X?
Not sure about it.
Okay.
So check the documentation.
Okay, thanks.
But probably yes, because it's a quite new board, so I expect there is something good. Okay. If you want to configure the Windows 10 IoT Core operating system, you have 3 possibilities. The first one, if you connect it to the screen, if you connect the mouse, if if you connect the keyboard, you can configure it directly on the device. Second option is to use the web interface. You will see it in a couple of minutes. And Windows operating system. So you have the PowerShell there. So you can create a remote connection to the device using the PowerShell, and you can configure it using the PowerShell scripts. Almost the same way you are using to configure, for example, servers or some Windows systems. So let's have a look on it. So first one, how to find your device on the network. If you have screen, you see the IP address. If not, you can install a very simple application which is called Windows IoT Core Watcher. And this application tries to find or list all Windows 10 IoT Core devices on your network. So I've connected just one. This IP address, you can see it. So if you want to configure, you connect to this IP address to port 8080, and you see this. You can see this
login screen.
Thank you. You know, today was my last day before the vacation in the office, so my mind is on vacation. So sorry, I will speak sometimes like idiot. Of course, you need to log in. Surprise the administrator, and it's really good idea to choose the new password.
Try let me in.
Okay. So here you have a couple of things you can configure. So this is the main configuration. If you don't want to use this one, you can use the keyboard and the screen, or you can use the PowerShell. Here you can see the running processes. As you can see, it looks like a real Windows. A lot of processes eating a lot of memory. Here you can configure networking. This is the probably most interesting one. As I taught you, no idea how to force Wi-Fi adapters working, even if you have some which should be supported. And here you can run some updates. Okay.
So maybe it could even support IPv6.
Maybe in future. Theoretically, it's possible because it's the core is the same as your own computer.
And the core, it's a beta version, or it's a like live?
The core should be the same as in last update, but the rest is it's not. It's still some kind of the beta of the operating system.
The proprietary drivers.
I think this is the biggest issue now. You know, for example, the previous build of Windows 10 IoT Core, so many GPIO didn't work on it. It was not possible to use any Wi-Fi, nothing. So it's really going forward, not so fast, but it works. Okay. And here you can use for shutdown or restart. By the way, if you accidentally switch power off, it doesn't, destroy the system, nothing. And I didn't see any problems even if I, switch it off in pen way. If you do the same with the Raspberry and Linux, you will have troubles with the file system. But here it works. Okay. So, very simple overview about GPIO. GPIO means general purpose input and output. This is, you have those pins on it. And you can control those pins. Not all of them, but some of them you can control. There are 40 of them, and let's say 26 you can control approximately. Some of them are dedicated for something. You can find the power on it, you can find the ground, but approximately 26, maybe 30 pins you can control. On those pins, you can switch the power on those pins on or off. So you have the basic logic 0, 1. 0 means 0, 1 means 3.3 volts. So it's very, very critical for you to remember that there is 3.3 volts logic. Why? How many of you guys have Arduino?
Waiting on.
Why do you live?
It's on order.
Okay, I have with me 1, 2, 3, at least 2 microcontrollers with me, 3 small computers, and the one is in my car. So you must have a lot of devices with you all time. I have more. One more. It's very important. I have a lot of devices. But if you are familiar with the Arduino is a little older system, and the Arduino uses logic 5 volts. And so if you take some, the sensors of the Arduino, it will probably not work as smooth as you expect with the Raspberry because of the different voltage. And be very, very careful. If you connect 5 volts to some GPIO pin on your Raspberry, it will be the last thing you will do with your Raspberry. 5 volts destroys the processor on the Raspberry directly because it's really connected. There is nothing between the pin and pin on processor. There is nothing between. So if you use the 5 volts for the pin, you will destroy the processor itself. Be very, very careful about that. So you don't want to do it. So what you can do with GPIO. First, it's a digital. So you can switch. You can put there 0 or 1, 0 volts or 0.2 volts. You can use something called I2C or I2C bus. It's a communication bus typically used to communicate with some sensors. So if you buy some sensor, or if you buy some EEPROM memory, if you buy a real-time clock, or those kinds of devices, it's typically connected using the I2C bus. It's a very common one, and it's very easy to use it. You can use another bus called SPI. SPI is much faster compared to I2C. It's it's full duplex. I2C is just one way, but SPI is a full duplex. For example, if you have the Arduino and you connect the Ethernet shield to Arduino, so you want to use the Ethernet, it's connected using the SPI. It's quite fast. There is one PWM pin, and there is one UART serial port. Serial port is supported, I2C is supported, digital is supported, PWM is not supported yet, I think. But there is just one, so it's better to. You typically use PWM, it's closed with modulation, use it to control the speed of servos or speed of the electromotors, and you typically use it external hardware for it. It's much easier and much safer. It's safe.
When you say supported, you mean by the SDK on the Microsoft?
Yes. So yeah, on the Linux, everything is supported, but on the Linux, typically the easiest way is to use Python. You can use the different programming languages, but it's not so simple, not so smooth. Because the main language for Raspberry Pi running the Linux is Python. Right?
Are there any built-in gyro sensors on it?
No, you need to use the external one. There are no sensors on Raspberry Pi, absolutely no sensor. So if you want to use some of them, you need to buy them and connect them. And typically the gyro, accelerometer, those kinds of sensors are typically connected to I2C. I2C is very nice bus because you can connect up to 127 devices just on 2 wires. Of course, you need the ground wire, you need the power wire, but for communication, you just need 2 wires. And all devices are connected on the same wire. So it's a theory. In reality, you can connect something around 30 devices to I2C bus. There are 2 I2C buses, but you can use just one. The one is that you can use this I2C. SCL is the name of the I2C bus. Second one is here by history reserved. So this here you can see the pins you can use. Every pin you can use as standard GPIO, but some of them have some of those pins they have a special functionality like SPI or I2C, or you can use those as standard GPIO. You have some power pins. Don't use the 5 volts. Here have the ground and resistance those 3 volts. Okay. So all application you run on Windows 10 IoT Core is a universal Windows application. This is the same application you can run on Windows 10, same application you can run on Windows Phone 10, same application you can run on Xbox One. It's the same application, same type of the application. You don't need to recompile it, nothing. It just works. Or change the code. It just works. If you want to use GPIO pins, you need to install Windows IoT extension SDK, and this is the library for Windows 10 IoT Core, which allows you to access GPIO. If you don't need to use GPIO, you don't need to use this library.
Okay, so that would be managed library or native library.
I think it's managed because in the latest build you can choose between let's say managed drivers or native drivers, which are much more faster in communication with GPIO. Not sure what's going on the low level, but this SDK is managed. So this is the reason why you cannot use it for real-time operations.
I imagine that the operating system has to expose it somehow, right?
If you are interested in this, there is Microsoft call it how do they call it? Hardware development kit, and hardware development kit means developing drivers for some devices. So if you are really interested in this, you can write your own driver for something.
Yes, so driver for Raspberry
Yes.
on GitHub for the HDMI for the graphic card.
I think it's not open source yet.
I saw it.
Maybe it's
yesterday.
I'm not the expert on how. I know how it works on small microcontrollers, so I understand it. This is not much complicated. Okay. So Windows Universal Application. So let's run. So it's very easy. You just create a new project. Universal Application. That's full computer. So, okay, here we are. So, Solution Explorer. It's probably you probably know this. So let's some user interface. Takes the block text Oh, font size. Good. So if I run it here, it will work. So probably most time you will spend waiting for some application to run. So application here. Or what I can do, I can just switch it here to ARM. I need to configure remote deployment. So remote machine. Universal encrypted protocol. And now, in theory, the application will be deployed to the device. Takes more time.
I didn't see you to enter any credentials. Is that
Not yet. It's open. So if you will
like
be on the same,
configured open or not secure
it's
by
not.
design?
It's not secure by design now. It will be edited in the future. So now, if you have the device on the same network, anyone can deploy it. Of course, it's wrong. Absolutely the same application. I just changed it to target. Nothing more. It's absolutely the same application. And of course, you can debug it on your computer, running on remotely. It works.
So that was just one line of XML.
Sorry?
The programming was just one line of XML.
It was just the user interface.
Yeah.
So, but if you are running a device like this, you need to. There is another kind of the hello world, and the hello world for the hardware is the blinking the LED light emitting up. So it's very easy. You just connect it. You just set up one GPIO as the output, and then you write high or low to that output. So it means there's a 0 volts or 0.3 volts on the pin. So I will show you it on another example. So file. Let's see. So first, if you have a GPIO here, you can buy some funny boards like this. This board, this type of the board is called hat, H-A-T, like a hat. It's not a shield, it's a hat. This hat is called Sense hat. And do you know what is interesting on this hat? This hat now is on International Space Station because there was a competition from the kids in the UK. So the kids in the UK get a couple of Raspberry Pis, almost in every school in the UK, with this kind of the hat. They did some project, and the project which won, is now in International Space Station. So imagine you are 14 and you have in your CV, I did device for International Space Station. It's nice.
And did they remember 3.3 volts instead of 5?
Yes, because it's a 3 volts. And on this you have, this is the display, symmetric display with RGB LEDs. There is a gyro, accelerometer, magnetometer, humidity, and temperature. I'm using a little different shield here. This one is more for, not for kids, because you have a lot of pins. You can hook up something on it. And here I have my LED, and I make the video start blinking with this LED. So if I want to use the GPIO, you will see I need to have here Windows IoT extension SDK, because the pins are inside this SDK. Here you can see I have my LED is connected to pin number 26. Which one is it? You need to change the documentation. Unfortunately, for Raspberry Pi, there are 3 systems how to number the pins. Don't ask me why, but there are 3 systems. So I'm using one of them, so it's a 26. Here you can see if I connect the same for Dragon board, the pin will be, for example, another one. But the rest of the code is for all boards the same. You just need to change the numbers of the pins. I have timer here, and this one is critical. Maybe you run the application on the device without GPIO. So if I switch this to standard computer and I run this application on the local machine, of course I have no GPIO on my laptop, it should work. So you need to test if the GPIO is there. So it's very simple. I ask for GPIO. If is it now, there is no GPIO, and I will not do any calls related to GPIO. And it works, but I have noticed here no GPIO on the device. And here you can see if pin is not null, I said right, low, or high. That's all. And I can run this on the Raspberry. Again, no changes in the code, just some conditions. And let's have a look at the configuration. Drink for me. So you can see different message, and you can see it working. But again, the code is the same. Of course, you can do something more complicated. So I disconnected here.
Stefan, how fast you are able to play the LED? Like, how fast is the CPU and .NET and everything?
For some things, it's possible to use direct memory access. So I think it's not a big deal to run it on tens of kilohertz. It's quite fast. Only thing is how is it precise. So for example, if you want to control the servo motors, the servo needs quite precise timing. So not sure about that if you run more things on it, if it will be precise enough. Because all those things are run by software. If you want to control if you want to control some motors or servo motors, it's better to use some external hardware and just control the external hardware using the Raspberry. For example, this shield. Here you can see, here you can connect the motors, and here you can connect servos, because I think it's this one. It's something called H-bridge. H-bridge is a piece of electronic for controlling the electric motors. And I think this one is the hardware PDM for controlling the motors, controlling the servos, and controlling the brightness of RGB LEDs here. And it's external hardware. So it's very common that you will use the external hardware together with the Raspberry Pi, because the Raspberry Pi is nice because it's very easy to program it, but it's not very nice if you need some, to control some kind of the devices. Okay,
Compared to Arduino, how it compares from your viewpoint?
It really depends what you need to do. So if you want to, for example, if you want to collect some data from the sensors and send it to internet in secure way, this one is better solution. Arduino, if you need to run some device for a long time on the battery and sending some small messages using some kind of the wireless network, it doesn't mean using the Wi-Fi, the Arduino is better solution. Because if you know, again, you must know what you are doing, but you can run, even the Arduino, you can run for a battery for a month. No problem. But you need to know more, something about the hardware of work, but it's possible. Because the microcontrollers on the Arduino itself is very low power. Those AVR microcontrollers from Atmel are very, very low power. Not there are better microcontrollers for this. Do you know what is the best microcontroller for low power? And you can still buy it?
386.
This is the microcontroller operating the Pioneer space, what do you call it, družice in satellite. So there are special microcontrollers for satellites. They are not so expensive. The price is around 1,000 Czech crowns. They are very, very low power, and the design is from 60s. Still working.
My brother worked for NASA, and they actually chose the 386 as part of a number of designs, just because it can run without a fan.
Yeah, for very long time. Okay, let's try this one. And typically, if you have some head on your Raspberry, you can you have some high-level SDK for it, so you don't need to know how it really works on low level. Yes, so let's try this one. So I show you the source code immediately. Just so you can do some more, I don't want to tell a complicated thing. So because in a sec.
By the way, I checked on Dragon Board in Europe, and they have 275 in stock.
It's already in Europe, because with the Dragon Board was some issue because it's not the problem with the Dragon Board now is that the Dragon Board is not FCC certified. So I have to sign some paper that I will use it just for my fun, not in production, because it's not certified. And for some reason, my application is not working. Okay, never mind. I just show you. Just show you this one. So typically, if you have some head You can have some, high level. You can have some high level library to control the head, so you don't need to know what's going on it. Because on this head, you have a couple of devices connecting using the I2C bus. So you don't need to know how to operate I2C bus. You can just use it. Okay. This is one of the advantages of this kind of devices is that you are, again, it's an advantage, sometimes a disadvantage. Typically, you are far away from the hardware. So you don't need to know how it works on low level, how to operate on low level I2C, how to operate on level SPI, how to operate on low level UART ports. You are using just the libraries. If we speak about the microcontrollers, you need to know really what to do on very low hardware level, because a typical microcontroller is programmed on the level of memory registers. So every memory register physically controls some electronics inside the microcontroller. But it's not easy to do it, but you have 100% control on it. Here, the control is not so good because you are really far away from the hardware, because there's operating system, there's a .NET, there are some libraries, and on top of it is your application. So this is one of the reasons that those systems are not real-time. So you cannot, there is no guarantee that every cycle of the loop will take the same time. So especially if you need to control something using the pulse width modulation, it's not so precise because there are so many processes, racing of the CPU that there is no guarantee how long every single cycle will take.
Stepan, speaking about the protocols, there is a couple of different consortiums competing for the protocol of home appliances or IoT in general. What does it mean from the perspective of Windows?
Okay, so it's quite easy. As I know, there are two main protocols now. One is called MQTT, and one is called AMQP. MQTT is, I think the IBM is using it. The second one, AQMP, it's ISO standard, and it's used by Microsoft. So it really depends what type of device you want to use, or what kind of backend you want to use. So for example, if you want to use the Amazon Web Services as a backend, you will use MQTT because it's natively supported by Amazon. If you want to use the Azure as a backend, it's a AMQP protocol, or both Amazon and Microsoft are supporting REST APIs.
So both of them are HTTP.
Strictly S. And it's a big problem because if you want to use HTTPS, you need to have quite powerful hardware.
Right.
So, for example, if you have a standard 8-bit microcontrollers, no way, not enough memory. The speed is okay, so speed doesn't matter because it will take some time, but to calculate. The biggest problem is the operating memory, because the certificate is 2 kilobytes, and you have the same amount of the memory. So, if you want to use, for example, some better microcontrollers, so for example, the 32-bit bits microcontrollers, the most common one is with the core from ARM. It's called Cortex M something. So there is a Cortex M0, M0 Plus, and Cortex M3. They have, let's say, much more operating memory, 6 kilobytes. It's not still enough. You need to have at least Cortex M4 to calculate HTTPS. And again, more power, More consumption, you cannot run it for a long time on the battery. So this is the biggest problem.
So that's the motivation to have the central hub.
Yes, this is the motivation. So you can have an extremely cheap endpoints, very simple one using the very simple and cheap 8-bit microcontrollers, and then you have some kind of a hub like this. But what you can do, and what you can very easily buy now, you can buy something called it's called system on chip. So it's a combination of microcontroller with something together. So there are very common one now are system on chip combining microcontroller and Wi-Fi. So this one is this chip is called CC3100. It's from Texas Instruments, and it's Cortex M4 with Wi-Fi. So this one calculates HTTPS. It's no problem. It's supported on it. And by the way, this one you can program using IDE called Energia. It's from a project called Launchpad, and it's the same style as Arduino. So if you know Arduino, you can program those chips too. Okay. Or the very popular one, and someone call it Arduino killer, is chip called ESP8266. And the chip ESP8266 is it's a microcontroller. I think the architecture is MIPS. It's not ARM. I think it's MIPS. And it's with Wi-Fi. So this is this one. This is the this one is ESP12E. And this one, again, you can calculate HTTPS is no problem. And again, you can program it absolutely the same way as Arduino. There are some little differences. Sometimes you need to add some libraries, but this one is able to use HTTPS. The price of this chip, if you take this chip and you don't need this one it's a serial to USB converter. So if you need just the chip and you don't need this whole board with the converter, the price is 58 Czech crowns. It's nothing. This one was 107. It costs nothing. This one was like 700. So it's a now this one became very popular. And it can calculate, for example, yesterday I managed I managed the direct communication with Azure IoT Hub. And if you want to use this one, you need HTTPS, you need SHA 526 for signatures, no problem. And still enough memory. There is a 1 megabyte of RAM, so it's very powerful. There's a lot of memory, and you have something like 4 megabytes for your application. So it's really very powerful and extremely cheap.
How about the Raspberry Zero?
It's not possible to run Windows 10 IoT Core on Raspberry Zero because there is a different microcontroller. Sorry, there's a different processor on it. I ordered one. I've been waiting for one, so I didn't test it. But again, you can use it as a central point of the network. But there are some limitations. There's just one USB, so it's quite tricky to configure it. But if you run Raspberry Pi with the Linux, so it's very nice. There are 2 pins here with I think those 2. There is a serial. It's a serial port, RX and TX. You can connect it to serial to USB converter, And on the Linux, you will find there a text console. So you don't need to connect the Raspberry Pi with the Linux. You don't need to connect to anything. You can just connect it to the serial port on your computer. Just open the terminal application, and you have the screen. And again, you need the converter which supports 3.3 volts. Here is the shift between 5 and 3.3. If not, you will destroy your microphone. You will destroy your Raspberry. Be very, very careful about it. Okay. So how to deal with the problems on a Raspberry Pi? First, there's a 3.3 logic. Be very careful about that. There are some limits how much current you can take from the GPIO. By the way, there's the same. There is the same issue with the Arduino. So you cannot take much current from the GPIO pins. Again, you can destroy something on the board. If I remember it correct, you can take the maximum for the pin is like 7 milliamperes, and in total, you cannot take more than 100 milliamperes in total. And on Raspberry, on Arduino, it's the maximum is 40 milliamperes per pin and 200 milliamperes in total. So you must be very careful about that. There is no ADC, analog to digital converter. So you cannot use analog sensors. Yeah. Be careful. There is no real-time clock. So it means if you restart your Raspberry, the date and time will be on the 1st of January 1970, midnight. So there is no real-time clock. Just one PWM, and just one USB hub.
Is there some reason why to use the 3 volts logic, compared to 5?
You know the reason?
No idea.
Less voltage, you need less power, so it can run longer for battery. And do you know why the 3.3 volts? It's because of lithium polymer battery. Single cell of lithium polymer battery has the nominal voltage of the single cell of lithium polymer battery is 3.7 volts. So and if you take some current from it, you're down a little. So 3.3 is very nice logic, and you don't need some voltage converters from power source. The biggest problem of the Arduino is that on the Arduino you have I think in English it's called the linear power source. So there is a small device which converts some voltage to another one. And the difference between the output voltage and the input voltage change to heat. So it really disappears as a heat. And this is the biggest problem of the Arduino. So if you feed Arduino from the battery, a lot of the battery power ends up as a heat on this linear power source. Almost the same problem is here. And again, to use the converter between one port to another one, it's tricky to do it. So this is the reason why the logic of almost any device is 3.3 volts maximum, because here you don't need any linear voltage power source, because you can feed it directly from the battery. Of course, you can use something called switch power source, linear power source, switch power source. So it works different way, but it's more expensive. So linear power source, the price is 5 Czech crowns, nothing. If you use the better one, the price is almost 100 crowns. And it's a so big difference for electronics like this. So all those electronics just using the simple linear power source, not the switching power source. And it goes more down and down. So the very low power devices like this one, the logic is 1.8 volts. And typical microcontroller, you can feed it from 0.8 volts up to 5 volts. It doesn't matter what you put there, the microcontrollers are just working. Some more questions around it? About that?
Will that run on two AA batteries? Is that 3 volts close enough?
I think it should work. You can, but it must be, again, if you want to feed it from the 2A batteries, you need to know if this battery is
Rechargeable.
rechargeable or not. Because if it's rechargeable, the nominate voltage is 1.2. If it's alkaline one, it's 1.5. So you need 3 that is rechargeable or 2 alkalines to get the similar voltage. It's tricky, but the most common typical device now is fed by lithium polymer battery. It's most common. They can give you a very high voltage. They can give you a very high current. The biggest problem of the lithium polymer battery is that you cannot, take too much energy to get below some voltage. I think the limit is like 3.1 volts, something like that. If you go below, the battery can explode. If not, it will be a little blow, the focus. I saw it. Okay, so how to deal with those limits? The first one, you need to have the hardware which is designed for 3.3 volts. Or you need something called level shifter. Level shifter is a special device. It's a small electronics. So on one side, you connect the ground on both sides, and on one side you connect some level, and on another side you connect a different level, and you change the levels between. Of course, you can use something simpler like the voltage divider or something like that. But those electronics is designed to be very fast, so you can use it with different kind of the buses like I2C or SPI. So it's very fast and it's not so expensive piece of hardware. Again, the price is like 30, 40 crowns. It's not very expensive. So, but think about that. So typically, if you have a Raspberry Pi and you want to use some sensors for Arduino, so Arduino sensors are 5 volts. So you need to have 2 power sources, one for Raspberry Pi, 3.3 volts, another for the sensors for Arduino, 5 volts, and between you need to put the shifter. If you need to switch some device with, and you know that you don't need some high current, use at least the basic transistor switch. If not, you can destroy your Raspberry Pi. So typically, if you want to switch on the the relay to switch some 220 volts, typically the relay can take a quite high current. You need to use at least some transistor switch. If you don't know how to connect this one, it's my problem. The easiest way you can buy it's a small electronics. It's called a transistor array. So there is a lot of transistors in one in one package, and it's very easy to connect it. You don't need to know how to connect it inside, how big resistor must be here. There should be some resistors, and so you don't need to understand it. You just buy a small package with a lot of transistors inside. It's very, very easy to connect it, and it's extremely cheap. I think the price is like 17 crowns. And you are very well, your office is very, very good situated because there's a nice shop called GME here. And it's funny to go there and just watch. There are a lot of people coming and discussing, okay, I don't know what kind of the transistor. And like the 5 shop assistant just thinking about which one and how much current do you need, voltage. I'm thinking like 20 minutes. they choose one, and the price is like 2 crowns. It's really nice to go there and just 20 minutes just watch the what's going on.
Don't go there near closing on Saturday though.
Of course.
The line's out the door.
Okay, limits. So first, if you want to use some interesting device, try to find some head for it. Just plug it. Surprisingly, the heads are typically much more expensive than the Raspberry Pi. So if the Raspberry Pi, the price is around $50 US, let's say, the price can be much higher. I saw the heads for some home automation that are developed in the city of Brno in the Czech Republic, and the price was almost 2,000 Czech crowns. More expensive. There are a lot of companies developing some modules you can use. You just wire it up. You don't need to solder it. You don't need to know how it really works. You just wire it up. Typically, those modules are connected using the I2C bus. This is the most common. If you all like to play, or if you want to learn some new things, you can create those modules using some microcontrollers. So it's very easy to use, for example, Arduino, connect it using the I2C to Raspberry Pi, and using the Arduino for analog to digital converter, or use the Arduino to control some servos or things like that. My favorite one for this is it's called Pixaxe. Pixaxe is very similar to Arduino. It uses the microcontrollers from Microchip company. The name of the microcontrollers is PIC, PIC. And Pixaxe is very similar to Arduino, so you don't need to use the low-level development. You can use basic programming language. And it's very easy to use it as an I2C device. It's much easier compared to AVR or to Arduino.
Just so you know, that probably comes from pickaxe in English. Like they take into the coal mine, Krumpach.
So the PIX is the name of microcontroller X. But it's very easy. The Pixaxe is very easy to use. If you need to pre-process some sensors, the Pixaxe is a very good choice. It's cheap. It's very easy to use it. Okay, so the common question is where to buy those toys. So let's do it this way. So. Okay. So how do I? If I want some toy immediately, I go to this shop because they have a lot of things in stock, and I can pick it up from my way from the office home. So it's like 2 minutes detour just to that. Unfortunately, they are selling very high quality sensors. For example, this one from US company called Adafruit. Adafruit is US-based company for hobbyists and makers, selling a lot of electronics. For you can build a lot of things there, but it's a high quality. But the price is it's not cheap. So, but if I want it now, I go there because I have it almost the same day or the next day, and those guys are friends of mine, so it's very easy to manage everything with them. But the price is very high. Or what you can do, if you can wait, you can just copy, for example, this is the name of the sensor. There are 3 sensors on one board, connecting using I2C. Or you can copy this one, then you go to eBay. And because Adafruit is doing everything as open source, and open hardware, this is absolutely the same thing. Probably not so good quality, but the price is much reasonable. but you will wait for this up to 2 months. So you need to choose. Now, of money, later, not so much.
What about eBay in the UK or Sweden or something?
It's cheaper here, definitely. And typically, if you buy something from in the UK, you pay more for delivery than for the device. So the delivery from the Europe is, I don't know why.
This is
It's
coming
from China.
This is coming from US or?
No, it's coming from China, and the delivery is for free. Up to way. And you know the Chinese guys know how to deal with the customs, so it never ends up in customs. You can spend as much money you want, it never end up in customs. So I'm running a project called Arduino 101. So it's a project when we bought a couple of Arduinos. So we bought, we have like 20, something like 22 Arduinos. We have some special shields for training. And we are offering free training as our hobby because we think it's a good idea to spend a lot of money and a lot of time just teaching people how to use the Arduino. And when we ordered the 20 Arduinos, it came from China. And on customs, it was like USB cable with
Accessories.
With accessories. It's not my problem that someone connect the Arduino to cable. I want to just use the cables. So they are very, very creative, the guys in China, how to deal with the customs. But it takes quite a long time to get it here. If you want to be sure that it will not end up on the customs, you can shop on Deal Extreme, but they have a special shop called EU Direct, eudirect.dx.com. It's a little more expensive than on eBay or on Deal Extreme in China, but you get it from the store in Netherlands. So it will not end up on the custom because it's inside the European Union. You pay some more money because they have to manage it with the customs and everything. The prices are like 10 to 20% more, but it will not end it will never end up on the custom because you get it from inside of the European Union. And the time you wait is almost the same as in eBay, maybe a little less, but it will not end up on the customs. Okay, I'm speaking 1.5 hours. Questions. So it's end of my presentation. So I hope you will buy Raspberry, maybe you will buy Arduino and start developing the hardware. It's much more fun to develop hardware because to develop software, there are so many software developers. Play with the hardware is much more fun. And it can be really dangerous. Okay, any questions?
So what is the best way to use it as a media server?
There is a special Linux distribution for it. I cannot tell you it works. I saw it once. It was interesting experience, but many people are using it. So there is a special distribution for Media Center for Raspberry Pi, and on Raspberry Pi there is some special coprocessor for full HD video, so it really works very smoothly.
So we have a colleague who has this at home, working with the Xbox Media Center on Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, it works.
This is the old open source media center project.
I think yes. This is this one.
It was renamed recently.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
renamed.
remember the new name.
And it's a really, so you really download the special image for the Raspberry Pi, and it will really work like a media center. But the only, again, be very careful You are running operating system from the SD card. It will work. Second thing is everything, all 4 USB ports and Ethernet are on the same USB hub. So if you connect some hard drive, it will work, but you can have performance problems because of USB hub, not because of the processor, not because of the coprocessor, no, just because of the USB hub. And again, if you connect, if you want to connect, for example, the external hard drive to USB, you need to connect it through the USB hub with the power supply. You cannot feed it directly from the USB because the current will be probably not enough.
There are more powerful devices. One of them is called Banana PI,
Yes, for example,
which have better.
performance. Probably this one, the Dragon board, is maybe better too. Not sure if there is some media center project. Not sure about that. But you can run Linux on it, so you can install the media center on the Linux. So it should work.
Are there any play boards for wearables? Something that would fit a bracelet form factor.
Like a toy, so you can manage it yourself. Or
Well, just to experiment with doing like wearables programming, like maybe with something that supports Bluetooth.
there are you can buy system on chip with the Bluetooth. So you can buy it. I have no experience with that, but there is one project. The project is by Seed Studio. Seed Studio is a Chinese company based in Shenzhen. Again, doing the same as Adafruit. It's cheaper. They have, I think the delivery is free for, if you buy for more than $50 US, the delivery is free. And they have a project called Reform. Reform kit. And the Reform kit is it's a kit, and you can build your mobile phone or some wearable device. They raise it on Kickstarter, so I'm waiting for one because it's much more fun to build your own phone than to buy some. So this is probably the closest thing to some variables if you want to test something. We did some experiments with variables in our company. We have a special team, taking care of all the innovations. And it's very fun. It's sometimes funny if you see the first prototypes. So they did some variable device with the Arduino inside, and I printed a box for them on my 3D printer. It was very funny, a very good device. It sucks. Of course. But for prototyping,
That's not quite what I meant.
Okay, some more questions?
Can we use Windows 10 and Raspberry Pi for some commercial uses?
Yes, it's possible. So as I know, there is no, wait. There were some changes. If you want to use for the commercial project, maybe you need to contact Microsoft before. There are some changes. Maybe there will be, I cannot tell there are rumors. There are some options that maybe there will be some license fee, like $1 if you will use it for the commercial projects. Now is actually for makers of these proof of concepts. But if you are interested in this one, there is a company called Elbacom, Michał Szaszkiński. Ask them, they will know. Because the Elbacom is the distributor of the Windows embedded system, and the Windows 10 IoT core is now part of the Windows 10 embedded family. You know, definitely. Some more questions?
What about Windows and the .NET? So the .NET is full-blown .NET, not the DNX core, right? Or what is the
It's a subset of the .NET for Windows Universal, for universal Windows applications. It's a subset of the .NET.
So something like what you can find on your phone?
Very similar, yes. Let's say it's, how's it called? Not this, client profile.
Okay.
It's very similar to client profile. So of course there is no ISP.NET, there is no the server components like Windows Communication Foundation, Workflow Foundation, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this, the core for client.
So SQL Server client, for example.
It's not available for now.
Okay.
But maybe it will be possible to use, for example, SQLite. Why not? It's just
You're
compiled.
pushing me towards Linux.
.NET Explorer on the IoT and that has ASP.NET new version.
I think it's not possible.
But you can use SQLite on Windows, no?
So what would be the benefit of Windows again?
On this,
Mm-hmm.
from my point of view, the biggest benefit is it's much easier to find developer who know the .NET than to find.
You can do that with Mono or PI
Oh,
as well.
Do you know Michal Alášek?
No.
He did some tests to run the Mono on Raspberry Pi.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite tricky,
Okay.
as it does. Unfortunately, if you want to run the .NET Core on Linux, you need to have the Mono on the machine,
Okay.
because the .NET Core use the core library from the Mono. And I tried on the Raspberry, didn't work for me. So it's quite tricky to run the Mono on the Raspberry Pi.
Okay.
Don't know the reason, but it's quite tricky.
Isn't it just a temporary situation?
Definitely, the need of the Mono on the Linux for .NET Core, it's just temporary solution.
Okay.
So is life.
So it's definitely a temporary situation.
Nothing stays so long like a temporary solution.
Of course.
Yeah.
I tried to play with these things too, and my idea was to use mobile phone to control some robot. It's some tricky part of it. I just thought it's a really, it's a well powered. It's a really strong CPU.
The easiest way how to get information from any device to the mobile phone is to use the Bluetooth. Bluetooth works as okay. There are typically two solutions. The easiest way and the most cheapest one and low power one is to use the Bluetooth. So I don't have it here with me, but if you have some microcontroller or you have the Raspberry, okay, on the Bluetooth is supported on Raspberry, and typically if you connect the Bluetooth module to the Raspberry or to some microcontroller, it works. It uses a serial port profile. You synchronize with your mobile phone, and what you have is a wireless serial communication. And using this, you can very easily communicate both ways. There is a library called Firmata. Firmata is it's a simple library and very, it consumes a very low resources. And this is the library you can use to communicate. This is a protocol communicating between some high power device, mobile phone, with some low power one, like microcontroller, maybe Raspberry, and so on. This is the one solution. The second one is to use the Wi-Fi. So you connect it directly. So for example, this device I showed you before, it can work as an access point. So you can connect it directly using the Wi-Fi, and you can control. You can run HTTP server on it, and you can manage it.
And my first idea was USB.
For USB, there is very nice kit called Yo-Yo. Could you type in Yo-Yo?
Yes, but it also is Android. So,
Oh,
and not sure.
with, yeah, AKB, I think. It's Yo-Yo, IO.
Ah, so I know. Sorry.
Sorry.
IO.
The software.
Yeah, here we are. But I think it was just Android. And in past there was the try from the Google to to allow people access the sensors on Android phones, and it was the name of the project was ADK, and yes, I don't know ADK, and it means that you could connect some Arduino boards with the Android phones using the USB cable. But it's very uncommon here now, and more common is that you use the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, not USB. Because typically on standard phones, you do not have low-level access to the connector to control the USB communication. And believe me, once I tried to work with the USB, it's so complicated protocol. It's much easier to use.
This Yo-Yo has Java SDK.
Yes, there's an SDK. It's okay if you have the SDK, or it's no problem. But from my point of view, the absolutely easiest way is to use the Bluetooth and to use it as a wireless serial port. It's extremely easy. And if you want to buy a Bluetooth module and you want, which is connectable to Arduino, the price is like $2-3 US. It costs nothing. Or you can use the Wi-Fi. It's very common. It's very common. For example, Wi-Fi is using the Skoda Auto. Does someone of you have Skoda Fabia, the last generation? So if you have the last generation cars, they have you can buy a module for telemetry, and it's a small device which is connected to CAN bus. It's very directly connected to CAN bus. It's a Wi-Fi. There is a running small server, and you can connect it using your phone, and you can download the telemetry about your car. There are, I think, like 27 events you can subscribe. So it's very funny. You can download which controls on your board are switched on or off. It's really funny. I brought communication library for Windows Phone for it, and it was a lot of fun, to see the data from the car. It's very nice. Very nice. It was my last nice project in Microsoft. And if you have Windows Phone and you download the application from Skoda Auto, to take data from the Skoda Auto cars, it used my library. It was very fun. So the Wi-Fi is quite often to control those devices, because now it's possible, especially if you have the chip ESP8266. It's very easy to create the access point, connect to it, run the web server on it, and control it. You can use HTTPS, of course, so it's secure. Very easy. Okay. Some more questions?
I was wondering, how do you choose the platform? Because you mentioned Arduino, Raspberry Pi, all those are quite versatile devices. So I can imagine that one has only limited compute, so we should probably, or I would probably choose one and stay with that and focus on that a bit more detail.
It's my hobby, so I like to try different things. So for small projects where you need to run it for a battery, you want to use some different kind of sensors, I think the Arduino is the right way. If you want to do something more complicated, you want to communicate with the backend server in cloud, probably the Raspberry will be my choice. Or you can choose something called Arduino Uno. It's a board where you have Arduino, and you have a small Linux computer on it, on one board. It's quite expensive. The price is more than 2,000 Czech crowns, but you can do a lot of funny stuff because you have Linux on the same board with the Arduino, and you can communicate together. It's a lot of fun with Arduino.
Stefan, what is the ABS support for these devices? What it offers?
AWS.
Sorry, yeah.
They have support for IoT. It's called AWS IoT, I think. And you can manage devices. You can create the communication channel between the both directional communication channel with the device and the backend. The biggest problem I see there, and for me it's a really showstopper, is the system of the device authorization. They use the certificates for HTTPS.
Okay.
It's very complicated to do it on small devices. You need to have ready-to-use libraries. It's not possible to develop it by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, there is almost identical solution on Microsoft Azure. It's called Azure IoT Hub. It's the same as AWS, but the system of the device authorization is different, and it's much easier to do it without libraries, because you need to, only thing you need is the library for HMAC SHA-256 hash algorithm. It's the only library you need. And you use this library for signing the requests. And it's extreme. I did it in one afternoon for this ESP board. I cannot imagine to do the same using the certificates and signing the requests using the certificates.
And the value proposition of the cloud is to what? To redirect those events and data.
No. It's I can show you one slide.
Okay.
And imagine you have device sending you information every single second. So in 1 year you have quite a lot of data. But imagine you have devices, you have hundreds of devices, and you need to process those data. And what the thing which is very, very useful in cloud. In the AWS call it Kinesis. In Microsoft is it called Stream Analytics. You can imagine you have something reading literally millions of events a second, processing it in the real time, and sending it somewhere. So typically using those solutions, if you want to use a solution like this, it's possible just in time. You cannot build your own data center to process those. It will cost you $1 billion of US. Typically, this stream analytics or the Kinesis is used that you process the data in the real time, and you pass through just critical data. For example, imagine you have a room like this, and you need to keep it on the temperature 15 degrees, plus minus 0.2 degrees for some reason. So you will have probably a lot of sensors inside to measure it. So using those things, you can take data from the hundreds of sensors, and you can very easily set it up that track every 5 seconds, so at the 5 seconds blocks, do some calculations, and if the temperature will be higher or lower than something, pass it through Then you have some more. Then you have, for example, some message queue in AWS, or you have some topics in Service Bus in Azure, and it sends you the alert to your mobile phone that hey, something goes wrong. Right. So this is the benefit of the cloud. If you have 20 devices on your garden, you can process everything on the Raspberry Pi. You don't need to send it to the cloud. But if you need to process a lot of data, the cloud is the only solution.
I'm still thinking about the central point locally to process, even if there is 100 sensors in this room, the Raspberry can handle that.
Not sure about the Raspberry.
Well,
But some devices. Not sure about Raspberry.
you know, if you are able to put it through the HTTPS, all those messages, then you are
Yes,
probably
those,
able to aggregate them as
those
well.
messages are really typically very small. You are sending a couple of bytes just. And if you want to really send just a couple of bytes, it's better instead of using HTTPS, it's better to use the MQTT or AQ, you know, the second one. Those variations, I hate it. Because they have, they don't have so much overload as HTTPS. You know, no big headers, everything is binary. And one more interesting solution, which will be available in Czech Republic in this next year. It's a network called Sigfox. It's very similar to GSM network, very similar, but it's just for sending small devices, for sending small messages from the devices. The message can have maximum 12 bytes, but you know, 12 bytes, it's a lot of data from the sensors. It's a global network, and it's a very low power. The biggest disadvantage is that you can send just 140 messages a day. It's a law limitation, it's a legal limitation, but you can run those devices on the battery for years. It's a very nice.
So it's promoting that in Czech Republic.
The T-Mobile is building the network, and Simple Cell company is responsible for the rest.
Simple Cell or Blue Cell?
Simple Cell, they renamed.
Did
Blue
they?
Cell
Okay.
is now Simple Cell.
I've got some end devices that will run both LoRa, the standard that Radio Comunicazione is running, and Sigfox that T-Mobile is behind.
There are more solutions like this, and those devices, it's funny, those devices are using technology from Second World War. The same technology has been used by German submarines to send the messages to the submarine operating next to US coast from the Europe. It's a very funny technology, I think, but it works great. So I have SQL device at home. It's really nice to do.
These are mine that do 20 kilometers.
Yeah. And you can use it for direct signs. It works up to 200 kilometers. And you need just 25 milliwatts of power. Strange. Okay, some more questions? Okay, if there are no questions, thank you for coming. And I think I need to go home and sleep.